I'll show you what we're going to go through this morning. So the first thing that we're going to do is whatever you talk about that, analyze that, and then we're going to see if we can spot any patterns. From those patterns, we're also going to look at what is called as the RAT, risk case assumptions test, and from there we will move on to selecting the idea, and by the end of this session, by 1 o'clock today, hopefully you will all have one idea that you can say, okay, this is my idea, and I'll start working on it, and then we'll start validating them. And these are basically being so when it comes to the customers that you had, potential customers that you had spoken to, the users that you had spoken to, I would like to hear from you. What exact words did you hear from the customers? And from those words, what really surprised you? And what is the language that the customers use? Not your words, but the language that the customers use. And, did they express a particular pain strongly or consistently, repeatedly? Okay? The second part would be what surprised you. You didn't expect to hear something from the customers and suddenly you heard them say something. And that you did not expect them to mention that as a problem or mention that as something that how they're overcoming that problem. And any assumptions that you had that turned out to be wrong because of the conversation that you had. And also problems that you did not consider. You did not expect them to have that, and you actually found out that that's a problem that they had. And then many times people tell you one thing and they don't actually mean it. What they're telling you is that I believe that gudka, pan masala is bad. But they're chewing that, or you find stains and packets of those all around, right? So, those are things that you need to do. Did you find any of those showing up? Did you find any of that showing up? I've had a situation where we were going to do a safety rally using cars, and the whole idea of that safety rally was that we would give a route. This is through a Rotary Club, many Rotary Clubs. This is going through a particular route, and throughout the route, they don't exceed the speed limit, they don't violate any traffic signals, they don't violate any traffic rules, not just signals, and they come back. It's not the fastest time that is counted, but the least number of violations that they have, incurred during that drive. And people are stationed over there to regularly watch where they're doing, what they're doing, and taking video or photo, camera shots, photos of them. And so one time, we already did this once and we were going to do a rally, and one person who was sitting, we were coming from Alapullu back to Visakhapatnam, driving. And the guy who was driving the car said, "Hey, count me in. I am a part of that. I'd love to be a part of that car safety rally." And he was driving at 120 kilometers per hour with no seatbelt on. How do I even, what does he think a car safety or safety is about? 6 months or 1 year later, I also found out that he was drunk and he had a teenager in his car, and he drove from Golf Club to Sagar Nagar with the teenager at super fast speed and late in the night just to get to some volleyball matches that we were playing. So what people say and what people actually do are sometimes really big. So did you observe any of those things? Right? And they might say something, but their behavior does not match that at all. You have a lot of people, especially nowadays, you have a lot of people who say Indian culture is the best and Indian culture matters and culture should be protected and culture should be this and culture should be that. How many of you agree with that? Indian culture is the best or Indian culture is great and Indian culture should be protected and Indian culture should be nurtured? 1, 2, everybody. Okay. So what is this Indian culture? Okay. Let me narrow it down. Let's talk only about art forms. Dance, song, painting, those kinds of things, right? Drawings, paintings, and so on. Indian art should be protected and should be encouraged and should be, disseminated, and all of us should be a part of that. How many of you still say yes? Okay, 50%. Half of you dropped out in this part. Okay. When was the last time you went to a classical Indian dance or classical Indian singing concert? Exactly. This is exactly my point. What we say, what we mean, truly in our heart, I believe that yes, we need to, India is great and India is this and we should protect Indian art, Indian culture and all of that. But when it comes to action, we don't follow through. I'm not pointing it out as some kind of a crime that you're committing. I'm just telling you that our belief is one thing, but our behavior is a different thing. I'll give you, for example, many of you here said that the reason why we are here is also because at some point of time we want to start a company. We want to do a startup or we want to start a business, and at some point of time we want to do that. That's why I'm here. Right? But when it comes to the basic thing of, talk to a customer, potential user and find out, this is the first step for you to identify a problem, whether a problem that you are thinking needs to be solved exists or does not exist. You are not even taking that step. Our beliefs don't match our behavior. Right? But actually there is a very important. The reason why the beliefs don't match our behavior is because we don't truly believe in what we are saying. But the actual thing that I learned a long time ago, maybe 25, well before, I guess any of you are born, dating myself, but there's a very important or a very powerful formula that is an equation. Beliefs equals behavior. Belief is behavior. If you truly believe in something, your behavior is going to match that belief. Right? You may not. For example, you say, yes, I want to promote Indian art, Indian culture and whatever. You don't even know it and you don't really believe in it. Yes, it's a good thing to say, I want to be in that same gang, Mera Bharat Mahan, no country is better than India, and you hear all these people come and give you lectures from wherever saying India is the greatest and whatever. So you say, yeah, India is the greatest because that's what you've heard of, right? But you don't know enough, and therefore it's just something that you have heard, and unless you're brainwashed, that's not really what is going to make you. It's not really what you truly believe in, and therefore you don't behave according to that. Because if you see a lot of people around you, around us, they say, my motherland. India is my motherland. Bhudevi. All these, big words. Rivers are, goddesses, and therefore we need to pray to those goddesses. But what's the first thing that most people do? As soon as they step out of their house, I can throw trash anywhere, I can spit anywhere. Those rivers that we're talking about, we are going to happily pollute it. Whether it happens to be the beaches, or whether it happens to be some gedda that's flowing near our house, or just some street side thing that we say we are willing to throw things there because, well, Mera Bharat Mahan, but nobody told me I had to keep my country clean. And nobody told me that this happens to be culture. Okay? Now those are the negative parts. But the one really nice thing that I observe in many of you happens to be that your idea, nobody formed that for you. You formed that yourself, obviously with influences from society, from your houses, from your teachers and everybody else. But based on all of that, you are quite different from most of us in the one thing that you truly don't really discriminate based on caste, based on religion, based on all of those factors that everybody looks at. Girls go call each other bro. What's up bro? Where are you bro? And I'm like, wait. Then I realize, well, they're being inclusive and they're talking to one another. Why change it to cis? So let's call it bro and let's keep it there. And an auto rickshaw driver or a rickshaw driver or Adobe or somebody else, when I and people around me talk to them in the way that we interact with them, it's usually they're an auto rickshaw driver, they're a security guard, they're this, and so on. And there's a difference, some kind of a barrier. I don't know whether I want to call it a class distinction, I want to call it a job distinction, I want to call it a economic distinction, whatever it is. But what I noticed from most of you is, you are going and talking to them like, uncle, babai, if it's somebody who's slightly older than you, akka, you don't treat them like they're different from you in any way, which we do. Right? I'm trying not to, but it's years of experience that I have to unlearn. But I see that as a huge positive. And no matter what the government does and says, or what some people say in terms of trying to divide society into us versus them, this region versus that region, that language versus this language, and so on, you don't have. So you may not understand and haven't thought about it in the way that you probably should or probably would in the future. But as of now, those are huge positives that you have that I don't have. So don't just take my word that, oh, I'm judging you poorly. I'm just trying to give you examples of, how you're looking at things. One last example, and then we'll go on to asking you for your, what you found out in the field. How many of you believe that English communication is critical for your success? How many of you believe that English communication skills, English communication skills are critical for your success? Wow, 0. So you can all manage without English, even though this entire conversation is going on in English right now, or in a monologue. So you can manage without English. Can you manage without English?
Spoken English maybe is not totally, because even the studies in English, so if we want to learn something, but it doesn't has to be in English, but yeah.
Let's talk reality, okay? Let's talk facts. How many of you know how to speak in Telugu? Please listen to the question carefully and talk. How many of you know how to speak in Telugu? Okay, good. So at least 2 of you are, and third, Pujita also raised your hand, okay. So except for the 2 of them, the rest of you, here's your challenge. Talk for 1 minute without using a single English word. Talk for 1 minute without using a single English word. You claim that you know Telugu and that you can speak in Telugu, so it's not even a challenge. It's just a small exercise. Go ahead. Anyone? Your maid doesn't talk in Telugu. What are you talking about? I have things where I'm telling them something about particular vegetable or fruit, and they're like, talk to me in Telugu, no? And I'm telling them, yes, this is Telugu, and they say they're using English words over there. So, every one of you just now admitted, you believe that you can talk in Telugu, except the 2 of them who agreed right from the beginning anyway. You believe that you can talk in Telugu or you know Telugu, but none of you has the, capacity to talk for 1 minute without using a single, completely in Telugu. Right? So even if I put stuff over there in Telugu, which by the way is a workshop that we're supposed to do tomorrow for MSMEs, and it's supposed to be in Telugu, we can't, because we are basically putting text in English there and we are talking in Telugu with obviously English mixed in there. Right? How do you manage to, since none of you raised your hands and said English is critical, where do you plan to work after you finish your college? And you plan to talk in Telugu over there? Others, where do you plan to work? Do any of you, can any of you guarantee that you will only be in Visakhapatnam or Andhra Pradesh? Then we will manage to talk in Telugu in Assam or West Bengal or Karnataka or how do you plan to talk over there and manage? The reality is that unfortunately the way that we have neglected our local languages, other countries did not. Right? Other countries did not neglect our local languages. And we did. And because we did, we are stuck with English. If you go in Europe, in Germany, people get it, talk in German wherever they need to. They talk in English, but they have German and they have German text, German alphabets, German words, German stuff, and they conduct business in German and I guess English. In France, French and English, mostly French, and they have the keyboards, the computers, the presentations, everything else that they have is configured to that. We don't even have one decent Telugu typewriter or keyboard or Hindi or whatever other language. So, you are an exceptional batch in that none of you said that this happens to be critical for you. But the reality is that, or generally what I find is that 80 to 90% of the people, close to 100% of the people in any class that I talk to, they say yes, English is critical for our success, which happens to be the truth. The challenge though is that they don't really believe in that because they're busy doing other things like my degree is more important. And therefore, you don't concentrate on the one thing that is actually going to get you and help you in addition to whatever you are doing with your degree, and therefore you are only 5% of people actually say I'm doing something about it on a daily basis or weekly basis. Okay? Okay, so enough with that, let's move on. So let's hear from you. Based on all of this, what did your potential users or customers say? We'll start with you because you're the closest to here on the left. Any inputs that you got?
Our conversation. I went to each archivist in there. I asked my people. First, I asked them in a week or in a month how many times you usually do this place. Actually, my problem statement is plastic. About plastic recycle, and we saw in Visakhapatnam, GMBC, they are melting this plastic in near LHD. They burn it or they make plastic chips. Plastic is making some nanoparticle and toxic element. So I asked them, you ever face that problem that you went any beautiful place or any tourist place? You ever face that there is plastic bottle or plastic package, plastic waste, you ever face? They say yes, they are faced, and most of them said that in a week they one time with their family they went for any tourist place and they faced that problem. Then I asked them, you paying some taxes to government to solve this problem, but this problem is completely solved. They say no, this problem is not completely solved. Then I asked them, what do you think about to solve that problem? They said that government should give more potential about that. Then I discussed about my idea. Then I said that if we convert this plastic waste to some decorative item or some traditional item, means in India we saw that in tribal area they are making some traditional items. It has a good demand, but it's not available everywhere. If we make that traditional items in modern way, with modern design, we can use it in home decors and decorative, converting decorative item. If you pay for that and you will get in cheap price or in affordable price, how you think? Then they say that it will be appreciated and it will be good for them because that home decor or traditional item, if they want to bought, they need to go that particular area. But if we start that business, they can get it at the locality or in online. But I also asked them how much you want to pay for a lampshade. If we convert it in a plastic waste to a lampshade, then how much? They said that below 500 they can pay. So I think that in our business, as our business raw material is totally free, almost totally free, we need to pay for collecting that waste. And when it convert by tribal area, it also production cost also be less. So for 500, if one lampshade, it will be profitable.
Okay. We'll come back to this. But good. Anything else that something that you didn't expect to hear?
Yes, one thing is they say that one customer said to me, we have to pay for that item, but means, they can avoid the government tax. So what happens? They need to pay government tax also, but government is not solving that problem. And once again we are paying for that item. One people saying that I shocked.
Okay. Right. And since I still have you talking, anything that you saw that they were doing which was opposite of what they were saying?
Opposite my ideas.
No. They were telling you something which is the exact opposite of what they were doing.
Yeah, I saw that because everyone is want to avoid about plastic. But when in beach, I saw the same people, they are using plastic bottle. I saw that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Next.
I asked a customer to purchase a cosmetic product from online, and when they purchased it, due to high influences promoting the cosmetic brand and those, the customer purchased it. But after purchasing it, when they have delivered the order, after unpacking it, they have used it for almost 1 week. After using 1 week, they didn't find any results, and they were allergic.
You got an allergy.
They got an allergy. So when they filed a complaint against it, but they didn't respond to it. It was like, it's not our problem. It's only that we have delivered our product and it's done for us. So when they have went for help and they have pleaded for help or return of the product, the brand has showed that no, we only serve the product after we purchase it. It's not our responsibility. You use it or return it or order another product. It is not from our mistake. It's your mistake. You might have used another product and you might be telling us that it is your brand which caused us an allergy.
Anybody else that you talk to or only one? Okay, since you were doing your assignments, what about this whole thing? Did you talk to anybody? Go ahead. How many people did you talk to? 5. Very good. That's excellent. You actually followed everything that Deepak said.
was surprising, and the inside was the overproduction causes waste. Due to that,
Okay.
I found it was surprising. And also regarding the hotel chef, also said that the buffet leftovers create huge wastage, and also buffets generate significant wastage. And the third person was the case manager. That surprisingly was predicting the customer demand is difficult. And because forecasting is a major challenge. And the other person was the restaurant owner. He says that we throw food almost every day. Daily wastage is common.
How much? Did you ask how much? Fine.
And also regarding the fast food outlet manager said that unsold food directly reduces profits. If reducing waste improves profitability.
Okay. So what is the first question that you asked? All of them.
I asked that how do you usually dispose leftover food from your restaurants?
Okay.
So the response was we just give it to the municipal corporation along with other waste.
Okay.
And the other question that I asked was, have you ever wondered what happens to the food waste after the dispatch from your restaurant? So the response was not really. I think they dump it somewhere. And I also asked that if do you know whether the collected waste was recycled or not? And the response was not sure. Most of those waste goes to landfills. And also, the other question was, how do you feel knowing this waste goes to nothing instead of wasting this? So it feels wasteful. The response is it feels wasteful and helpless. It should be useful to something. And the other question was, what would you do if you had authority? The response was, I will ensure that food wastage is collected separately and used in a profitable way without harming environment. So these are the responses.
Very good. Good questions. Especially because although a little bit of it is leading, but what's your name? Anjana sir. And what's your name? Kaushik. So the difference between Sanjana sir and Kaushik, right? Vijita sir knows what I'm talking about. Your questions were a lot less leading than what you had asked. And one of the things that we have telling you clearly is do not ask questions that are, basically giving them your solution. Your job with these 5 questions is not to tell people about your solution. Your job is to actually find out what is it that they're facing as a difficulty. So, to some extent you've done that, but you've already led them to food waste. Right? So, probably a better question would be, what is one area where you could lose less money or make more money, and then see what you find from there. And if it leads to food waste, great. If it leads to something else, but that's an open-ended question. In your case, we're talking about almost directly like, what are you going to do with your leftovers? So you are kind of leading them down a path with a particular solution that you have, even though you didn't mention any solution. So that's also a good question that you asked are, also equally good. He also did a good job. The only thing is that I would suggest that you don't tell them, first of all, you never tell them a solution when you are doing these interviews. Your job is to only find what is their pain, what is their pain point, what is their pain point. And so for them, your question, how would you frame a question that Kaushik, went and asked? What would you go and ask instead?
So first I asked them in a week or month how many times they visited this place.
I know. But after that you went off into something, right? I'm asking the others. So first question, how many times do you visit or go out? Is valid, it's an open question, and you're only talking about people and they're already out, so you know that they would probably be going out. But the second question, right, was about
If there's any problem when you visit this place.
how did they come to plastic? Did they tell you plastic waste? You told them. That's what I'm saying. So how would you frame the question? You two can also participate. You don't have to just sit there and listen. How would you frame that question? So that you don't talk to them and tell them, hey, I'm solving a plastic waste problem. The second question that you asked, right? How often do you visit these tourist places? And what do you find as a problem? What difficulties do you face? That question, what difficulties do you face? I would suggest that you ask them, give me your top 3 things that you find. And one of them could be cleanliness. If they say cleanliness, then you can talk about, okay, so how often are you facing this cleanliness problem? Or whatever else. So, okay. What about you?
Sir, I would like to solve a problem called waste recycling and waste regulation process.
Okay.
So I went to a potential customer, my apartment community secretary. So I asked her that how long that municipal corporation vans will come and collect our total apartment waste, and how was it segregated, like how many types, biodegradable waste, normal waste and e-waste. So he simply told that all the waste was segregated into one particular drum. So no other particular like this is for biodegradable, this is for non-biodegradable. And that was more surprising because food segregation leads to extreme delayed process for the recycling, and it also affects the economical spendings in recycling. Sir.
Okay.
And second customer was like electronic shop owner who repairs electronics, and I also asked him like how long, in what way you will dispose your waste which comes from your shop. He simply told that all run of old electronics are simply thrown into garbage. Like lack of awareness and less knowledge about collecting mechanisms which can recycle e-waste. It simply goes into garbage which
1 second, service. I have to take this. Hello? ask your manager, చేత నాకు ఫోన్ చేయండి. మీ మేనేజర్ చేత నాకు ఫోన్ చేయండి. నాకు ఇది కరెక్ట్ కాదు చెప్తాను. మీ పేరేంటి? ఎందుకంటే మాకు రైట్ లేదన్నది మీకు చెప్పడానికి నాకు ఆల్రెడీ 5 సార్లు చెప్పారు. ఆ మానిటర్ రీప్లేస్ చేస్తానని చెప్పి మాకు రైట్ లేదు నాకు చెప్పడం కాదు. పేరేంటి ఇది వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడుతుంది.
So I went to the second potential customer, electronic shop repair, the owner. So he told that I asked him that how long where do you dispose your electronic waste? He simply told that our shop will dispose the total waste in a regular garbage. I thought that regular garbage is not a perfect way to dispose this electronic waste, because electronics waste contains some copper, gold, which can be recyclable. So that was most surprising for me, sir. I thought that lack of awareness and less knowledge about how to recycle those things, it simply goes into like we cannot recycle those things.
Yeah.
We can, but it's economically more than normal electronic waste recycling. At last, third potential customer, scrap dealers. Scrap dealers, I asked them that how long. There are 3 types like biodegradable, plastic, and electronic waste. Most of them are recyclable, or which comes to like we cannot recycle the things. Useful goods like e-waste and plastic is mixed with water content, wet waste, so that it takes more economical way to segregate those things and process those things and sell them to the recyclers or recycle things. So it surprised me most, like all the plastic and valuable recyclable things are making contact with this wet waste, so it takes more economical like that.
Okay.
But this issue makes recycling most and more difficult.
Okay.
This is my point.
Okay. Good. Are you only following, or are you also going and talking to anybody? You didn't do anything, right? Yeah, do. Okay. Next. Did you talk to anybody? What about you? Did you talk to anybody?
Yeah, I spoke to like 2 to 3 friends of mine.
Okay.
So like my problem statement is like students facing a problem finding a proper internship. So like right now, like especially the 3rd years and 4th years in college, we have to do an internship. So a lot of them are still struggling to find an internship. A few of them have found an internship. So my first question was if they were looking for an internship. So a few of them said yes, and a few of them already have an internship. So then I asked them if they face any problems or difficulties in finding a internship. So like the problems faced by them was like they couldn't find a proper internship, like based on their interests and the field they are in, and the amount of time that they spend searching for internships. So like I asked them how they were looking for internships. So like LinkedIn and job portals and family suggestions, and like a lot of people spend a lot of time on LinkedIn or like online searching for internships, and even though they apply, they don't get the responses. So yeah, and
what answer surprised you?
Like, I wouldn't say I was surprised much because right now even I'm going through the same phase. So,
But wasn't there any one person who said something that surprised you?
no,
Shocked you, surprised you? Something that they did, something that they did not do? Something that they tried? Number of times that they used for an example. Somebody who told you I sent 300 applications or I applied to 400 companies. Nothing like that.
yeah, this is like, apply to every internship that they are finding in one of my customers. So it was like, even though if that internship is like not based on their interest, they just found an opportunity, so they applied for it, which I think is like not, I mean, it may help in gaining an experience, but right now it's not like a very feasible thing to do. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Next.
My approach is about the online shopping. Like most of the sellers are untrusted, like they sell fresh products and like most of the damaged product they sell. Like I just ask my friends and cousins and my family members. Like first thing I ask my college friend. Like ever he got something about which you see on online and he got a different from online. Yeah, it's like I got a earphones, I ordered some boat earphones, I got a ship earphones. Like name and brand is different, so what you see. Huh? And like ask my family member like most of the products they buy is makeup products, like normal facial products. They said if they bought some products like my auntie, like she bought a soap. Like most of the influencers they tell the soap was very great, and influencers like most marketers, the soap name is like Go soap. They bought it. Like they used from home there 2 months. They got not any result. They said it's waste of money, like waste of money, and they don't want to buy again.
Yeah.
And again, like some in my college professors I asked some. They said they search model like they want to. They keep on time on reviews and online. They search systems. And most of the time was waste of it. Like now, so it's grading reviews and all. They said, why should we buy in online? We can go to some offline stores and we'll buy something. And they keep on losing their time and money over there. And that's the service.
Okay. Anything that was surprising? Any behavior was different from what you were saying?
Yeah, they said they said, I don't want to buy on this. But they will buy the same product again.
Okay. Next.
My problem schedule was agents who are going through regular meditations. Suddenly they go to the medicine go out of stocks. The different. So I surveyed around 5 people. In the 5 people, only one caretaker who is a parent. Where his child is suffering from mental disability. So that I asked him that how often do you visit for his medication to a pharma or a medical store? He said I visit twice a month to regularly change his medicine. So what if you came across any out of stock like the thing, and he said that I go to doctor and change the prescription so that I can have the argument. And the rest for with regular medications on diabetes and blood pressure, they said that I go for medications, I go for pharma 3 weeks or 4 weeks or a month on every month, and I purchase it. I asked that how often do you notice that this medicine, this particular medicine is out of stock? They said we rarely see that they are habituated. Then what are the things you are doing when they are out of stock? The pharma guy will suggest us some alternative. Then I ask that does the alternative costing you much or any price variation in it which you are using regularly? A little bit higher or a little bit? They said a little bit, it is costing much. So I came to know that people are habituated that even it is out of stock, they are prioritizing themselves that they want to take the medication. Even it is a particular prescribed one or as an alternative, they are completely trusting that pharma guy to go through the medication. So that I came to know that my problem statement is in a kind of wrong direction. So that I changed the part that to get to notify them that their vehicle time or as where the stock is available in 2-3 prior days when they are going to buy. What the surprising moment is, only one I felt is that they don't even know the name of the medicine they are taking. They just know that this yellow color is for BP, this white color is for sugar, and they are giving the prescription to the pharma. They are giving. If it is not in yellow color, why do you give it? Is there a different one? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, either they are not literate or even if they are literate, they don't even bother to read whatever the label is. They just taste it and basing it on the color of the tablets. Okay.
I didn't spoke to anybody else. On Tuesday, after the program, I went to the registration to back I boarded Tirumala Express and I was offered to talk to someone, but later I just having from that book. And I noticed this one samosa. So my topic is about metabolic. So I tried talking to him and he said he will buy the samosa, but he can let me. And yesterday I told him that to do it because of some of my hypothesis regarding that.
What about you? Did you talk to anybody? He said you talked to someone. You talked to it? Why? So based on the reason why I spent a lot longer on this, even though it's supposed to be only for 10 minutes, as you can see in the bottom, for those who are able to read, is because unless we look at the problems that you are, questions that you asked, and interviews that you did, anything further is going to be difficult to go through. So, one of the things that I would suggest based on what you were talking about, based on interviews, is that there is this concept of signal versus noise. There is a signal that comes through, but the noise around it is going to disrupt that signal. So, if you have, if you are getting a signal that if I am talking to people, for example, I talked to customers who are taking medication, and almost every customer is saying, we don't know the name of the medication. We just know that we take the prescription, we get the prescription, and based on the color of the tablet and whatever was recommended by the doctor, I will take that medicine. Right? The same thing is being mentioned by at least 3 out of the 5 people that you talk to, then that's something that is a strong signal that you're getting that, okay, this is something that I need to look at, something that I thing that you should be looking at is the emotional reaction. When they're talking to you, how passionate are they? How frustrated are they? How difficult it is. So there's every day I'm wasting all of this food, and the restaurant or the cafe that I'm going to is unable. That people in that cafe are unhappy that they're wasting that food, and it's not just words. You can see in their expressions, the way that they're speaking those words, that's an issue. That's again a signal, because they're expressing frustration. They're basically saying that they're very passionate about this particular thing, right? This particular problem. So, if there is the noise, if one person said something that was not what everybody else said, right? That something unusual. You should make a note of it, and you should try to check out whether, what more can you understand from this. Sometimes people might say something just out of the ordinary, and it may not mean anything. Sometimes there may be a deeper meaning to it. If you dig deeper, you will understand that better, right? So that's something that you need to look at. And the part that I want to, that Kaushik mentioned, you mentioned the problem and they agreed to it. You had to mention the problem before they agreed. Otherwise, on their own, they would not have said plastic waste. Maybe they would have said cleanliness. And then cleanliness is a different problem from plastic waste. Right? Or plastic waste could be a small subset of the cleanliness waste. That is it. Because cleanliness could be a problem related to education, awareness. If I go to a place and I dump one small, plastic spoons of it, and I say, well, it's one small plastic spoon. Now, if I put it in one corner, most people won't see it. Therefore, you're like, it doesn't make a big difference. But then when 5 of you go and put that plastic spoon, then there's a small pile over there. Somebody might notice. But once all the 14 of us that are sitting here put those plastic spoons in one corner, every single one of us will most likely notice. Because now there is a small pile. Right? And if there is a compounding effect to that, the waste that we are generating. And that's something that you should be aware of. And once again, I would tell you, when you are doing this, because you are not done with your customer interviews. For those of you who did not talk to enough people, I would say go back and talk to a few more people. But we'll give a few more things today, and so you can combine that and see how to move forward. But if you suggested the problem to your end user or customer, then there is a problem. So, based on this, one of the things that you mentioned, okay, I came with one particular problem, but I realized that that's not what I'm facing. Okay, the issue is something else. Reminders or early warnings, things like that. So then you are pivoting. Okay? There is this idea of a pivot. Many of you might remember from your school days physics pivots. Some of you, I guess engineering students at least would remember a little bit, or somebody who went to a decent school where the physics teacher was a good physics teacher. But in software, in startups, in the startup world, in businesses, especially in the startup world, they talk about this idea of a pivot. So I am going around solving a particular problem. And when I am going around solving the problem, I hit a wall or I find out some really interesting and come across some very interesting information. Based on that interesting information, I realize that what I am solving is not what I really want to, not a big problem. There is a bigger problem that needs to be solved. And therefore, let me solve that bigger problem. Okay? So, it could be that the pharma problem, it could be the waste problem, and it could be the food waste problem. So, you could find that, okay, I need to solve this food waste problem. Let me reduce the food waste that's being generated in restaurants and cafes. Okay? Or, it could go on in a different way. And the way that I would go about it would be, let me look at what can I do with the food waste? Okay? And there are two things that come out of the idea of what can I do with food waste. One, I can compost it and create biocompost, vermicompost and other kinds of compost, and I can use that for my fertilizer, natural fertilizer to help in my garden, farming and so on. And people would be willing to buy that. You know, it's waste that's being thrown away, but if you convert it into compost, people would buy it from you, to get that from you. And therefore you are converting waste into wealth. Okay? There is another thing. A friend of mine has created a technology called anaerobic gas reactor, which basically takes this wet waste and converts it into biogas. And that biogas is sold as fuel, where you can actually go and use that fuel instead of your LPG cylinders and so on. So, you can reduce, there's one thing where you can try and figure out how to reduce the generation of the food waste in the first place. The second thing would be that you cannot reduce it, but you know how to collect it, and you then convert it into wealth by converting it into compost or converting it into a gas, a biogas that can be used to fuel a vehicle, fuel a cooker, fuel a stove, that kind of thing. So, you start in one direction, and then you say, okay, I am pivoting, I am changing direction, because this is a better route for me. Last week I mentioned that there is this idea of Interview Buddy. Interview Buddy is a company that provides mock interviews for people going for real interviews, right? When Interview Buddy, the founder went to students because the primary target was customers who were students. Every single one of you who is going for a job interview does not know how to do an interview, has not attended an interview, so therefore you don't know how to talk, and therefore you are going to find yourself in a situation which you are unfamiliar, you are not confident, all of that. Right? So when Ujjwal went and found out from the founder, he went and talked to students, they said, yes, we will take the interviews. How much will you pay? 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Once the company started, and the people who were asked, students, here is this opportunity, even 1,000 rupees they are not willing to pay. They were not willing to pay even 1,000 rupees. People who said, I will pay 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. So what people tell you, right, in terms of tourists coming and telling you, visitors coming and telling you, is not accurate, need not be accurate. Their actions are going to be different. Because that 1,000 rupees, as I might have told you, people are saying I can buy 4 biryanis with it. my job interview is not so important. My biryanis are more important. Because, even if I don't get a job, my parents will take care of me. Unlike other places where you get thrown out if you don't survive on your own, and therefore you have to figure out, and therefore you will learn. And second, because there is no financial literacy. If I have 1,000 rupees, right, that 1,000 rupees I'll spend for 4 biryanis. Where is that 1,000 rupees coming from? Pocket money from my parents. Now, if I go get a job, I will get a minimum of 10,000 rupees. I'm actually quoting a much lower number than what you would get, but let's take a minimum of 10,000 rupees a month. 30 days, 10,000 rupees. For earning 1,000 rupees, how many days?
3 days.
3 zeros and 1 followed by 4 zeros. 3 days, 1 zero less, meaning 1,000 rupees, you can get in 3 days. In 3 days, I will get my 1,000 rupees that I invested back. And here is a really important thing. After that, that's the first month. First 3 days of the month. After that, every single month I'll get 10,000 and I'm not losing 1,000 anymore. I'm getting that 10,000. And now, whatever your parents give you, in addition to that, you're getting 10,000. But most people don't realize that, hey, this is an investment that I'm putting in myself. Okay, enough about interview buddy, but the point that I'm trying to make here is, so when we found out that the people who it was meant to be students were not taking this, we pivoted, interview buddy pivoted and started going after people who are working in companies or planning to change jobs. And going and changing those jobs and saying, okay, I want a new job. And they are willing to pay because for them, they are making 20,000 rupees. If they go find another job, they are going to make 25,000 rupees. That 5,000 rupees extra. Even if I charge them 2,500 rupees, they understand that I will make that additional, that 2,500 that I paid in a fee, I will make that in half a month. After that, the next 11.5 months, I will have more money than I had in my current company. And so we ended up pivoting from one job, from one set of customers into another set of customers. It's not just about customers that's one way of pivoting. There is another thing where you go back and say, okay, I am going to go and sell a particular kind of product. And then you find out that more than that product, there are people who are willing to buy something else. And so you start selling that in exchange instead of the product that you originally thought. Right? There are instances of that where people went and started building something, and the people who were buying it were using it for a completely different reason altogether. So there is this idea of a pivot. Should we pivot? Meaning, instead of doing this, should we do something else? Right? Instead of selling to these people, should we sell to somebody else? Or should we persist? No, this is a one-off thing, this is a two things, these are things that are there, and we need to persist. We need to continue along this path. One example that I recently learned when I was trying to learn a little bit more about how products are made and solutions are built and so on. Apple and Steve Jobs at that time created an iPad. And when they created an iPad, apparently for many years, initially there were people who bought it, and then, people stopped buying it. Why did they stop buying it? Because they looked at it and said, oh, this is just a bigger size iPhone, and but it doesn't make phone calls and I can't do anything else, so I'm not really keen on it. They could have dropped it. But then what they did was that they continued production. After 3 years or 4 years, apparently the number of applications that were there that they created in the iStore for the iPad became much larger. Once the applications were there, then people were willing to take that iPhone, take that iPad and say, oh, I can use this iPad now. I can use this iPad now for doing much more than just taking notes. Otherwise, people were using the iPad only for taking notes. Now they use it for calendars, now they use it for integrating different applications, now they use it for a lot of work that they do, and it's easy for them to carry wherever they want to go, rather than a bulky laptop. Okay? Okay, let's take a break. I've been told that I should give a break. Ten minutes. whenever we go and talk to people, whether you go talk to somebody in a restaurant, cafe, and then see what's happening, you need to understand that there are some assumptions that we are making. Out of those assumptions, we need to make sure that we are eliminating the riskiest assumptions. Out of there, or we're testing our riskiest assumptions. That is the RAT thing. The riskiest assumptions test. Right? Because every idea that we have is based on something that we believe in. And then that belief is something that we think is true. This one tells us if the assumptions or beliefs are right or wrong, and if it's wrong, then you kill your idea and go on to something else, rather than going along the path. Because one of the biggest reasons for failure happens to be that you go and assume that there's something that is here, and then you find out that that assumption is not accurate, and if you don't switch, your entire business idea or your entire startup will fail. Again, I want to bring you back to the interview buddy example. Even today, I strongly believe that every single student that's coming out of a college or university would need interview practice before they go for an interview, because you've never attended an interview before in your life. And you can't just go and play a test match, or for that matter, just even a small, simple gully cricket match, without ever holding a bat, cricket bat. You can't go and play a shuttle tournament without ever catching hold of a racket. You can't play a chess tournament without understanding the rules and understanding what each piece does. When you have that, right, in the case of interview buddy, I still believe that every student before going for a job will need interview practice, and they're not getting that in India. And having somebody going and asking an LLM, what are the questions that are going to be asked, what are the answers that I should give, will give you text answers. But how do you express yourself? How do you actually convince the other person that you are the right person for the job? That involves physical practice, or at least virtual practice. I truly believe that. But even though that belief is there, the reality happens to be, the assumption that is being made there is, students will understand that and therefore they will come and take the service. And there are a lot of competitors to interview buddies now, by the way. But what you need to understand is that the competition is not from the competitors. The competition is actually coming from the users. Because why should I spend 1,000 rupees? What value am I getting for that 1,000 rupees is not something that I am able to, that you are able to process in your head, and that communication, that value communication, the value proposition is not being communicated to any of the people who are the customers. Right? So, when it comes to assumptions, there is an assumption of desirability. I want this. My customers will want this. When I tell them this, they will want this. People wanting something is different from people actually doing something. People needing something, yes, they might do something, but people wanting something does not mean anything. I am sure all of you in this room want a fantastic job, very high salary, nice big vehicle, nice lifestyle, and nice big house, nice, overall a very comfortable life. But very few among you are going to put in the time and the effort to figure out what do you need to do to get there, to ask people how to get there, to find mentors to help you get there, and to actually work really hard to be able to get there. And all of those things are things that many people will not do. That's how you differentiate yourself from the others. So, do people actually want this? Is this something that they desire? At least if they want this, then they would be like, yes, we will do something. One of the reasons why Visakhapatnam is cleaner than most other places is because people in Visakhapatnam want a clean city, and we have the support of the government that is getting the city clean in the middle of the night. When all of us are going to sleep, those people who are going and cleaning the streets, making sure that everything is clean, while early morning they are making sure that everything is clean. There are a lot of people who still throw trash on the road. Just the other day I saw somebody come out of a hospital and throw a water bottle right there on the side of the road. There is a dustbin inside the hospital. They could have easily put it there, but they don't. There is always going to be that behavior. And as a matter of fact, one of my friends told me, he's an American and he used to live over here, and he told us that in the 1970s, in the US also, people driving on the highways would start throwing junk out of their, they would buy from McDonald's or whatever, and they'll keep throwing stuff out of their windows onto the side of the road. Kind of like what we do with the railway tracks. Everything along the railway track is a dustbin for us. So, even though the train has a dustbin, and sometimes, if you, of course, the reality, if you go and put trash in the trash can, in the train, the cleaner in that particular compartment will take that out and throw it out. They will throw it out. Saying that if you keep it here, that rats will come, so I have to throw it out. Right? Nobody is asking them, hey, come out, let's come with a solution that is going to improve this. So, there are people who want this in Visakhapatnam, therefore we are much cleaner than other places. Okay? So, my customers will prefer my solution over doing nothing. That is a desirability. The second one happens to be viability. Will this make economic sense? Meaning, will I make money? Will I lose money or will I make money? If people will make, pay enough money to, take my service, buy this product, then it's worth my time. It's a viable idea. Okay? I don't want to keep selling the interview buddy thing, but since you are used to it, let me continue with that for a few more minutes. It's not just students. There are a lot of people who are changing jobs who understand that they need to take practice sessions. But they're not willing to spend the money. And it's a very interesting phenomenon. And this happens, by the way, mostly in India because we don't value service in India. In other parts of the world, service is valued. But for us, we can't see service. I can see a water bottle. I can see a biscuit packet. Right? If I'm able to, if I say this is 5 rupees, you will buy it from me. If I say this is 10 rupees, if you're not hungry, you will not buy it from me. But when you are hungry, you will pay 10, you will even pay 20 rupees for it. But if I tell you that look, I will help you improve your life and I will make sure that you take up a career that is useful for you. I will guide you with the right kind of service to help you take a path, career choice, make a career choice that is going to set you on the path for growth. You're going to say, great. You're going to spend half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours with me. But then when I ask you to pay money, how much? And when I say 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, you are like, that's a lot of money. Because it's invisible. You haven't seen anything. But the same thing, right? there's that 1 hour that I spend with you now gives you enough tools and enough information to be able to go down a particular career path. And because you went down that career path, instead of getting 10,000 rupees per month, you'll make 50,000 rupees per month after 3 years or after 5 years. Right? But you're not going to see that value now. And therefore you're going to say, oh, 5,000 rupees is a lot of money. We don't value service in India. Okay? And so, and here's a really interesting thing. I will attend the interview, practice interview, but I don't want to pay more than 500 rupees. I don't want to pay more than 300 rupees. For a half an hour interview, if you're saying I don't want to pay more than 300 rupees, that means for 1 hour, we are saying that you're going to pay 600 rupees. Right? So, since some of you have your phones out, go and do a quick calculation. 600 rupees times 160 hours. In a week, you work about 40 hours, 45 hours in India, but let's take 160. So, 160 hours times 600 rupees. How much?
96,000.
Huh?
96,000.
Right? 96,000. Now, the person who is going and giving that, doing that practice interview, that person who is doing that practice interview has at least 10 years of experience. In the IT industry, 10 years of experience, you are most likely, nowadays, you are most likely going to earn at least 1.2 to 2 lakhs. Mostly 2 lakhs, 1.5 lakhs per month, 2 lakhs per month, maybe even 5 lakhs per month, but let's take the 1.2 lakhs per month. Somebody is earning 1.2 lakhs per month, and you are telling them that talk to me for your time and I will give you less than whatever you are earning, but help me to get a better job than where I am. It doesn't make sense, but that's what people generally go and do because they're not doing any of the calculations and understanding. So that's why your question of will people pay enough to cover my costs? Okay, that's the viability part. Then the third part is, the third big point is feasibility. Can I actually do this? Can I build this? Right? Can I have the people, the technology, the money, the resources that I need to go and build this? I want to give you public transportation that is not, does not have to rely on congestion. And I might have told you this, there is this company that's providing airport rides from Madras, in Madras to fly you, VTOL aircraft, which take off, fly you to the airport, drop you there, and they charge you some 3,000, 5,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees or something. Suppose I go and say, I will do that for you in Vishakhapatnam. I'll take you home and I can give you a ride from here to home and I'll charge you 50 rupees or 100 rupees. There will be a lot of you who will be interested because one, I'm saving time, and two, it's almost as much as a full price of an auto rickshaw, whatever it is, approximately, or half the price or slightly more than the shared auto. So fine, I'll do that. Right? But then how do I make it feasible? How do I build such an aircraft? How much will it cost to build that? How much will it cost to operate that? Who will operate that? What about insurance? What about safety? What about all of these other things. Where is the place where I can pick up and drop off?
And also the profits.
Yeah, not even counting that. I'm looking at from a building perspective, can I actually build this? Yes or no? Those are some of the things that you need to ask yourself and make sure that your assumptions in these cases are accurate. And the way that you would go about it, you would go and build a matrix to look at how critical is this assumption. So there is a low risk whether this assumption works or does not work, right? Even if I go with this assumption and it's wrong, there's a low risk, or it's a very high risk. Okay? And the certainty, the guarantee that this is going to be something that will work, will be feasible, will be viable, will be wanted, desirable. That certainty is low versus that certainty is high. So x-axis is that certainty and y-axis is your risk. Okay? So if you have a low risk and low certainty, meaning that even if the assumption is not really, it's not very risky, even if I make that assumption. And yeah, I'm not certain about that. It's okay, you can test it later. But if it's something that without that assumption, right, you're making an assumption, if that assumption is wrong, your entire startup fails. That is high risk, even though it's low certainty, right? But it's high risk. This needs to be a number one priority to test. That risk assessment. And of course, it's high risk, but high certainty that this is something that will work. That's something that I can watch, but I don't need to concentrate on that and make that the most important test that I need to do right now. And if it's something that is a low risk, but it's a high certainty, well, it's low risk, I don't mind, but the certainty that this is going to be feasible, the certainty that this is going to be viable, the certainty that this is something desirable is high, then I can go ahead with it. Because if my assumption is wrong also, there is a very little risk that something is going to break in my solution. How many of you understood? Did you understand? What did you understand?
So first priority will be certainty, and then comes to risk.
No, it's a combination of the two. First of all, one of the things that you need to do when you're doing a startup is there are certain assumptions that you're going to make about your startup that you need to go and verify if those assumptions are accurate or assumptions are inaccurate. Correct or not correct. Right? Based on evidence, by the way, based on evidence, we found that if we make a program like this free, then the number of people who would be interested in coming and taking this would be very high. Right? But the number of people who will actually come through all the 8 programs, 8 sessions, and complete this course, we know that it's going to be, our assumption was, again, my assumption based on the data that I have, experience over a decade, doing these kinds of things is that the number is going to be much lower. And that is exactly what happened. 61 people signed up for this program. 61 people signed up for this program. When people reached out, our team reached out and contacted them. We, by the way, excluded about 10 people who directly said, 5 or 6 people, I guess, who basically said, no, we will not do customer interviews. The rest of you said, we will do customer interviews. It was a box, you tick it, what's the harm, nothing, you don't lose anything, so therefore, we will take it. But there are some who definitely, who said, no, we will not do customer interviews. We eliminated them. We still had about 55 of them. Out of 55, when we were, the people who signed up, the people who were contacted, 25 people said that they were going to show up. 26 said it. 26 said that they would show up. We made provision for 30 people to be there. And the first day, sure enough, there were about 24 or so people who were there. But we knew that that's what happens on day one. 55, 24. Out of the people who said they would come, less than half came. And now, 3/4 of the way through this program, we basically have 11 people here. That's the way it is. Okay? Now, if I had assumed that everybody would have come, right? We would have bought snacks for everyone and made sure that we have biscuits and maza packets, 50 of them. Rats would have had a good time with them because it would just be waiting there for people to actually have them. So, whenever you have, similarly, when you have a startup idea, you make certain assumptions. One of the biggest assumptions happens to be that the solution that I'm building, people will want it, people will buy it, people will pay for it, and I can build it. Okay? But the reality is a lot more different. One of those things happens to be that, okay, I will collect plastic waste. I will segregate waste and the source. Right? At home itself, GVMC is going to give me a red, green and maroon, I think, or a blue box. And I'm going to put the green stuff. Green one means that my organic waste, wet waste. Red is my non-wet, plastic and other things, dry waste. And then the other one, the blue one, is going to be a mix of glass or whatever. Right? First of all, many people went and they don't use any of them. They just dump everything into one place, like we found out in the
regular garbage.
Everything goes into the same garbage. Right? Now, the assumption that you have is that the plastic that you're going to get is going to be clean plastic. The plastic that you're going to get is not clean plastic. The plastic that you're going to get is contaminated with organic waste plus so many other things. There will also be biomedical waste. People will use syringes and other medicines and throw them in the waste along with everything else. And you have to sort that out and only take the plastic. The second assumption is that if I take this plastic to the tribals, it's going to be cheaper and they'll have a source to make new kinds of materials, products, crafts, other things. Great. But what's the cost of transporting the plastic waste from the city to the tribal area? What about the fuel that you're consuming? The diesel that you're doing and also the pollution that you're causing because of the diesel vehicle. And, what about any leftovers? That will start piling up over there because there is no municipal corporation in the tribal area. So there are these assumptions that we make about the solution that we have. Those assumptions, some of them are very high risk. Right? One assumption that, let's say I go with Kaushik and I say, an assumption that I make, I take the plastic and I give it off to the tribals and they'll make this thing for a low cost firm. And they'll get employment, they'll make more money. My heart is in the right place. his heart is in the right place. But the reality, as you found out, is people are dumping electronic waste along with regular garbage, dry, wet, and all kinds of waste in the apartment buildings in the same thing. And even if by chance, you go and segregate your waste into source segregation, wet waste, dry waste, and all of that. Most of the times, the guy collecting the waste is going and dumping everything in the same place. Right? So when you have these challenges, the assumption that I can make, I can generate money from the food waste that's there, reducing the food waste or generating gas. The assumption that I can make other items from this, furnishings, decorative items from the plastic by recycling it or by repurposing it. All those assumptions have a risk factor associated with it. One assumption that you are making is I will get plastic, all the waste plastic. But the risk over there is, what if you don't get it? You made an assumption. What if you don't get it?
I need to shift my law here.
By the way, this is just an example for all of you to consider. What if I don't find that? Then what do I do? So that can be a very high risk. Whereas the low risk one could be that, okay, if I can't collect all the food waste and take it to some place, I will in the same place put composting bins and have these people dump that food waste in the composting bins right there, and that becomes compost after 2 weeks. I'll take that compost and sell it. I'll sell a portion to these people and I'll keep the remaining for me. And therefore, I'm lowering my risk of collecting it and putting it in some place and finding it. You're also forgetting another risk that many of you are missing out. An auto rickshaw driver. How much does an auto rickshaw driver make a month? How much does a taxi driver or a car, a driver of a car and somebody who has a car driver, how much are they asking? How much are they making? Any idea?
It is at 60 or 70,000.
20 to 30, 25 to 30.
So, you have people who are making 25 to 30,000. Maybe a car driver is now charging 20,000 rupees. If you don't pay 20,000, the driver is not going to stick around. And it increased from 6,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 to 12,000 to 15,000 to 16,000 to 20,000 really fast. Right? So, when you have 20,000 rupees that a driver is charging, and you go to your parents and say, I have a job and the job is going to pay me 1.2 lakhs per annum. Some of your parents are going to say the taxi driver or auto driver is making more than that. By the way, just so that you know, the pani puri that you go eat outside? You know how much the pani puri guy is making? Do you know how much the pani puri person makes? Did you ever think about it? Let me give you an example. Okay? So, how much does a plate of pani puri cost? 20. More expensive 30, but roadside 20. I'm talking about the roadside person. Right? So, they have a stand. Right? They have a pot with the pani. Right? And they have the puri. And they of course have the stuff that goes into it, the aloo and the onion, all of that, right? So if you take a look at those ingredients, the ingredients all put together, if you don't count the time that they spend in boiling the potatoes, preparing it, all of that put together, in a day, they're investing about 500 rupees. 300 to 500 is my guess. But let's take the higher side of 500 rupees. Okay? Now, they set up the stand from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock. Let's actually say 5 to 10 because 4 to 5 maybe fewer people eat. Actually, colleges close, so I think 4 to 10 is a good. So let's say 4 to 9, 5 hours. Okay? Per hour. Per hour. How many customers are they getting? At any given point of time, let's say you have 2 or 3 people near the stand, right? Rarely do you find only one person near the stand. Many times they have 2 or 3 people near the stand, and once they become popular, it's much higher, right? So let's say you have about 3 people eating that every 10 minutes. 60 minutes, 3 times 16, 3 times 6, 18, right? 18 times 20. Forget, actually let's wait for the 20 later. 18 people per hour. Okay, 5 hours. Right? 5 hours, 18 people per hour. 90. 90 times 20 rupees per plate. Assuming people are eating only one plate and not more, and whatever, 20 rupees per plate. 90 times 20, 1800 minus 500, 1300 times 30 days. 39,000. That is when I am counting only 18 persons per hour. A stand which is not doing so well and it's not popular and there are not 5-10 people rushing all the time. Right? They are making close to 40,000 rupees per hour at the lowest end, sometimes even lower, 25,000 rupees. They are making more than most of the people who are going and eating over there. Or your parents are doing. Don't quit your job and start a Pani Puri stand. But having said that, there are a couple of people who actually did that. There is a B.Tech Pani Puri wala with a franchise of things that are there. When you know that there is a product, there is something that can sell. If you know how to build on it, you can go and make a lot of money. The only thing is that it's not a sexy startup. It's not where people are going to come and talk to you and say, hey, what are you doing? Some of you might have seen the WhatsApp forward about a samosa person sitting in a Bombay subway train, and somebody had a conversation with him, and he talks about the samosas that he's selling. The guy is selling the samosa at 1 rupee or 2 rupees a samosa, buying it for 25%. And the end of the story says he's got a couple of apartments in Bombay, a few crores each and whatever, and he's only working for a short period of time, not even the whole day. Right? We forget because of the whole idea of I'm educated, therefore I can't do something. By the way, the really even more interesting part. There's a Kali Mata temple near the beach road, right? So outside the Kali Mata temple, there are a lot of beggars. Like outside every other, many other temples, right? There are a lot of beggars. There's a beggar couple that 10 years ago, not even 10, actually 14 years ago, there's a beggar couple that sits there. Apparently they were sending 30,000 rupees to Odisha every month. 30,000 rupees 14 years ago, every month. Don't get started with begging. So, here's the thing that, now that you're going to move forward with whatever you're looking at in terms of your solutions and the interviews that we have done, one way of looking at it, there are two, lenses through which you look at something. It's kind of like imagine a microscope or imagine a magnifying glass. I look at certain things with one kind of magnifying glass and another thing with another kind of magnifying glass. Like that, there is a desirability lens. So people genuinely want this. And the question that we need to, that you had asked and you should look at, at least 3 people mentioned this as a pain point. Right? You have the 5 people who mentioned it as a pain point for the food waste. Right? In your case, you had people talking about, well, I just throw it away, but they didn't mention any pain point. So you need to go back and look at what's the pain point. Should I approach a different set of people? Or should I go back to these people and say, okay, so what is your problem? And see what it is that you want to look at. And as I told you earlier, did they express, this is such a headache every time. One of those biggest headaches, by the way, happens to be finding people to come and join and take a job. You would think that there are, it's very difficult to find a job. But talk to people who have companies, and I'm telling you, the biggest headache for almost every single company is we do not find people. Or rather, we do not find good people. You would be great for that company, but they haven't met you. One. You would be great for the company, but you don't have the skill that would make you great and that would attract you or that make you attractive enough for that company. And those internships, there are internships available. The challenge is that the people who are wanting those internships, seriously wanting those internships, are very few. As a matter of fact, even the people who are so-called hunting for jobs, I've talked to, over the past 20 years, I've talked to tens of thousands or at least thousands of them. If I talk about classrooms, then it's tens of thousands maybe. But I talk to them and many people say, we are working very hard to find a job. How much time are you spending to find a job? I'm spending a lot of time. How many applications have you sent? Every day I'm spending about 20 applications. How long does it take you to send those 20 applications? It's the same resume. They're not going and doing what's necessary to do that. It's the same resume. And they are totally spending about 1 hour a day sending those resumes. Out of 24 hours, you are spending 1 hour a day trying to look for a job. And then you are saying it's very difficult to find a job. You are not spending any time to improve your skills. You are not spending any time talking to people and asking those companies, hey, are you looking for a job for an employee? And what are you looking for in that? There are internship opportunities right here in our hub that those 2 girls are a part of, and the others that you met, they're a part of that. But out of the 16 or 18,000 students that are there in other universities, and out of 200 or 300 BBM students in your hostel? 160. out of 160, there are 5 or 6 of them who basically come and say, hey, we're looking for something, and who actually stuck around and are doing something. Even that is limited to, I asked, they gave me something, they didn't give me enough, so I'll wait for them to give me enough. Nobody is going to come and wait and say, oh, you're not doing anything here, I'll give you some work. That's not how it works, especially in a place which does not have a lot of people, it's missing people, and therefore you need to go out of your way to say, I have time, I've done this, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? Right? So, that problem is there. The emotion that people are expressing is something that you are looking at. Once again, a repetition. How are people solving the problem nowadays? Right? When there is no solution. They're just waiting for the medicine to come. They're just going and getting an alternative medicine. They are going and asking somebody else, they're going to a different store and asking them for that. They are trying to solve it in their own way. But if there is a subscription service that tells you that, okay, automatically on this date, you can get the medicine, that headache is removed. Could be a solution. Again, I'm not suggesting the solution. I'm just saying that, how are they solving the problem today, even if it's imperfect? And if I provide that service of delivering those medicines on a regular basis to them, will they pay me? Right now, people want that to be delivered for free. Your Blinkit and your Instamart and your JioMart recently went and changed the policy from you buy for minimum of 99 rupees and then you get free delivery to I'll charge you 30 rupees per delivery. Suddenly the entire thing drops because people are like, I don't want to pay 30 rupees per delivery. And Amazon, which was also saw a loss of money because Blinkit, Zepto, Instamart, these guys were taking away the customers. They got started with now. And Amazon now is going and delivering at 99 rupees and above, it's free. Right? So when it's free and it's being delivered by those guys, why would somebody pay you? Okay? However, I want to give you another example. There's somebody who apparently in Setundara, Raitu Bazaar, that person collects through WhatsApp what vegetables does a particular household want. They send him a list of things. I want onions, I want tomatoes, I want brinjals, half kg, 1 kg, half kg, whatever. And they send that list to that person. He collects all of them, has a few people who go through the Raitu Bazaar, shops for these people, gets all of them, in this individual things that they are buying, and he gets them delivered to the house. And the people who are getting it delivered don't mind paying 10 rupees or 20 rupees for the delivery. And because of the volume, he is able to manage to aggregate everything in one, let's say one apartment building, and have one person go there, 10 apartments buying from him. They get 100 rupees, 50 rupees for the delivery boy, and 50 rupees for the staff. Right? So, will the customers pay? That's your desirability. Then from a feasibility lens, right? Are you able to talk to those customers? And if you do, what are the skills that your team needs to have to solve that problem, to create that solution? And what can you do without spending? I want to create an aircraft that I told you to drop you at home every day. But it will cost me 2 crores. when will I ever recover my money? 50 rupees per passenger, 2 passengers, I can't put in like an auto rickshaw. I can't put 15 people, shared auto because crashes, safety, lot of things like that. I can only put 2. I'm making 100 rupees per trip. For me to get 1 crore break-even point to get back whatever I invested, how many trips do I have to make? 9 lakh trips, or 1 lakh trips. 1 lakh trips, that's a lot, right? And what about legal, regulatory or access barriers? Meaning that if I do the aircraft on the road, I just need a RTO license, which relatively is easier. There is a well-oiled mechanism. Nowadays, a little bit of that is without bribes, but otherwise you give a bribe and you get things done. With an aircraft, I need to talk to the Navy, I need to talk to the airport, I need to talk to the local police station, and I need to talk to the DGCA, which takes care of civilian aircraft, get permissions from all of them, and then I have pollution control board will probably say something. GVMC will want to say something. All of these people want to say something. In addition to registering the company and so on, other things. Those are the legal and regulatory aspects that you need to look at, right? So any idea that actually fits both of these lenses very well, right, is going to be a strongest candidate, and that is the idea that you can move forward. So once again, repeating what I meant, what I said earlier, your validation is nothing but evidence. After sakshan dorukadu. Ante. Nothing more than that. I have evidence, right? That whatever my assumptions that I made are correct. That's all it is telling me. It's not telling me, okay, this is the solution that you're building is the correct one, right? And so going and telling people, will you use this, will you use that, is not something that you want to do. And you don't want to even build a prototype right now. Then if more than 3 people are telling you that this is a problem, then you are without prompting, without you saying is this a problem? Do you think plastic waste is a problem? Yes, it is. Without prompting, then it's a powerful validation. Okay? And if your family or friends say, oh yeah, fantastic problem, good job, or one of us says that to encourage you, that is not validation. That is why we are forcing you to do something that you are uncomfortable with. And one thing that I want to also mention, the reason why we are pushing you to do the assignment and go and talk to people, customers, potential users, potential customers is because one other skill that you need when you are running a company is communication. Communication with your clients, communication with your team members, communication with your vendors, communication with authorities that need to give you permissions, all of that. If you are shy and not going to talk to people that you are running across and meeting there, and if you are not figuring out how and when to talk to somebody, somebody is right in the middle of Manipuri. They have 10 customers or 6 customers and they're selling to all 6 of them. And you sit there and say, hey, I want to have a conversation. How much do you actually invest every day? And how much do you get? That fellow is not going to tell you, yes, come, I'll give you all the answers. That fellow is like, hey, I'm busy. You need to find the time when they're not doing anything, when they're sitting and just spending time, waiting for that train to come, waiting for the train to stop, waiting for something else to happen, and waiting for customers to come, and that's when you talk. If you're going to talk to a shop owner, you wouldn't go during the evening and the morning rush hours. You would go sometime when it's very few customers, they're just waiting and they're sitting around, so you talk. And also don't expect that you would have people who will open up to you the first time. By the way, I should also tell you this because we did a similar program through RTIH, different set, 1 week, 5 days ago, a program. And we went to Rajahmundry and there's somebody who has this idea that he's trying to connect street vendors to apartments or houses. And so he's onboarded street vendors and he's onboarded customers, apartment owners or renters. But then they're not doing any purchases. He went and built the app and he created a platform and he said, okay, onboard. They said, okay, and they came, gave contact details. But nothing is happening. The reason? He didn't talk to them and find out, do you want to increase your business? What is your challenge? How are you going about it? How do you go about it if you didn't talk to your customers or your users? In this case, he's got some number of pushcart vendors. He's got them. He's actually not talked to them. When we told him go talk to them, so he talked to them. They said, I don't want to talk to you. They were suspicious. Why does this person want to know how much money I'm making now? Why does this person want to know where I'm making money and where I'm not making money? Why would you go and tell anybody, a stranger, about that? You have to go through somebody who knows them and introduces you, or you have to go and talk to them once, talk to them once again, talk to them a third time, and finally, they'll start opening up and saying, okay, here is my challenge. Right? Otherwise, most of the people are not going to do that. So, this program is not going to be there. We will do the follow-up one for building a prototype. But this program is only meant to help you to validate your idea. And even your validated idea, we will be talking about pitching, presenting your idea in a way that I've done my research, I've done all the work that is necessary, and this is what I validated, this is the solution that I'd like to pursue, and so this is what you mentioned. Even the solution that you like to pursue, even if you don't mention that, we are fine. If you mention that this is the idea that I have, that I validated through interviews, and I found out, that is what is important. Obviously, they will come to some solution. So, in your books, take up those 2 to 3 ideas that you have right from the beginning. Actually, you can send out, you can share that. So remember, for most of you who came, except for you who came after the break, for most of you we've already talked about part A, right? What you assumed and what was confirmed and what you assumed was what was proved on. So that's something that you can, you already stated, so it's easy to fill in. And then if you changed your problem statement, then write it down in the paragraph below. Then when it comes to part B, assumptions, I explained a lot to you. So write down your assumption. So if you tested it, great. If you didn't test it, then it's okay. What? You need to fill it out now. Don't look at me. Start filling it out. I am here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Right? However, also understand that unlike in a classroom where we only talk and you listen, this is something where there is an exchange of conversations that are happening, and also a workshop will involve this. You actually going in, trying to learn on the spot so that you can ask questions and we can give you feedback. Once you finish part A and part B, we'll go to part C afterwards. What's your idea?
I'm not looking for any idea.
You don't have any idea? Then why are you filling out the form?
We're not again selecting out and
Sorry. You've been attending these 6 sessions. This is the 6th. You've been attending these sessions, except for the first one. And you're just sitting there and, not really, observing is not good, doing is better. Even if it happens to be a bad idea, wrong idea, crazy idea, whatever it is, doing is better. to all of you is right now, most of you seem to be working on your idea as individuals. Right? And if you're hitting an obstacle, a roadblock, a wall, because whatever idea that you thought is not taking you somewhere, then I would suggest that you team up with one other person at least, not the two other people. It can be 2-person teams, 3-person teams, whatever. And together start looking at ideas, because there are some advantages that you're going to get from them. One, you're not alone. And one of the things that most people don't understand is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs are very lonely. They don't have everybody, most of the team members that they have are employees. So they can't go and tell their employees all the headaches and all the things and all problems that they face. But if you have a co-founder, if you have a team member who you can talk to, that will give you a little bit more of a comfort. Second, you may not get an idea, but working with another person, a friend, would give you some additional ideas. Together we can come up with something. And third, pick a team member who thinks differently from you. They should not be thinking exactly the same thing like you. Because then both of you are going to say, yes, 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 great idea, good idea, fantastic idea. And together you're going to fail. Some disagreement where your friend, is better. You are great at communication, your friend is better at technology. You are great at talking to people, your friend is better at sending emails or writing or doing something. Those kinds of things, complementary skills, or at least not something that's the same as everybody, is better. That's why many companies, investors look at the team to see what exactly the team is composed of. And one other advantage is that you can hold yourself accountable. Right now, other than me or Deepak or Kiran coming and asking you, did you talk to 5 customers? Nobody else is asking you that. And so all you have to do is put up with us for 5-10 minutes at the beginning of the session. We will ask you. If you say I didn't do anything, I can't do anything, so at the most I can throw you out of the room. Right? I can't do anything else. And so you're not really holding yourself accountable. On your own, holding yourself accountable, again, there are challenges of procrastination, fear, shyness, all of those things. But if you have a friend, when you are feeling low, your friend is probably going to pitch in and they're going to be energetic, or they might push you a little bit and say, yes, you can do it, and vice versa. Okay? Having said that, obviously there will be times when you will argue and fight. And if you're fighting all the time, where you feel that the fight is very, it's draining because it's not productive, then maybe you should change your team members, your co-founder or partner. But otherwise, disagreement is a part of it. Disagreements on a regular basis are good. It should not be disagreement on everything. And one final thing, you need to be very clear about who you are. You need to understand that your friends are really nice and everybody is good and all of that until money starts coming in. Once the money starts coming in, you will find out that your friends are not really such nice people as you thought they were. As a matter of fact, you'll find out that your brothers and sisters may not also be so nice as many of you might find out later in your life. Hopefully you won't. Hopefully they're all wonderful people, but current reality. So keeping that in mind, you should always understand that there is a risk that you and your co-founder are going to disagree and you're going to separate and go a different way. So you should be ready for that rather than, oh my God, my life is over because I can't do this startup anymore. So So there is a disadvantage also. But if you are aware of it and you make sure that everything is, you are crystal clear on both sides of what's expected of one another, that's a good thing. For example, whether it's alco partners or indigenous, everything that we do, in terms of starting the company, who owns how much and all of that is on paper. And it's registered and documented and it's proof that this is what we agreed on. And because of that, we don't have to worry about should I suspect my partner. Right? So keep that in mind. Coming back, if you are hitting a wall, if you are not able to proceed further with whatever you are trying to do, find a partner, and start working with them to see what you can do together. Okay? And I'll leave you a few minutes early so that part C, by the way, will come only when you do part A and part B completely. So if you're not doing part A and part B completely, then you'll have to go back and do the interviews and then try to fill this in. Right? And what I'll do is, I'll leave you a few minutes early so that in case you want to go with my suggestion and find team members, right? That you'd like to work together rather than as an individual. Stick around instead of leaving and see if you can work with somebody else. Okay. So actually this is what we expect. I was hoping to get today, even though I was realistic enough to understand that some of you would not have done your interviews for various reasons. But one of the things that we would get if you fill out the sheet is that you will have one idea that's selected. One problem, one customer, your proposed solution. And each of those is just one sentence each. Right? And then what are the three most riskiest assumptions that you have? You're going to be listing. Right? And then go and test it with conversations in the field to make sure that you have customers who have confirmed it. Again, you are confirming a problem. You are not confirming a solution. Even there, for those of you who did not start the conversation, and those of you who kind of led them in a particular direction, try to push it back, come back on track, and just be open-minded about your questions. What are your biggest challenges? Because one of the things that you could find out could be that of all the challenges that are there, transportation is a bigger problem than anything. While you might want to solve the waste and plastic problem, if you find out there's money to be made in transportation and you can solve it and you can do this, you should go and do that pivot or change your idea completely and go and solve the transportation problem. Because if you're able to solve the transportation problem, one potential benefit, you'll make a lot of money. From that money you can go collect plastic and go and save the environment and do other things. Because right now with no money you can't do anything. You won't save yourself, you won't save the environment, you won't save anything.
Sir, I observed one thing that mostly in near the tribal area, there is some tourist place. Like in Sundarban, I am actually from Bangla. So in Bangla, there is in Sundarban, there is some tribal area. Like in Araku. Araku is a tourist place. And there is also tribal people are also there. And there is another Chittagong. It's also in
Yes.
yeah. In there also in mountain area and there are also Cox's Bazar, the largest sea beach. There is a lot of tourists.
Yeah.
And near to Cox's Bazar, the mountain areas also there live some tribal areas. So that I think that transportation is very near and
Agree.
maybe.
Agree. I'm just, see, the assumption that I made, right, is I assume that you talk to somebody here in the beach though, which is what you said, not assume. You talk to people in the beach though. So I my reasoning is that okay, you're trying to solve a problem related to plastic and tribals in this region, and transporting something from here to Araku or Paderu is a 2-hour journey. Whereas what you are talking about changes that. You are talking about okay, I'm trying to find out a problem, something here, but I want to solve it for Sundarbans, and I want to solve it in Cox's, where it's closer to the tribal area and therefore transportation won't be an issue. That's fine. Everything. I am not God, by the way, right? Just for your information, God also, at least the gods that I have read about and heard about, gods are also imperfect. Most of the gods that we have heard of, right? Whether it's Sri Krishna, whether it's Vishnu, whether it's whoever, we have this thing that gods are also imperfect. They make mistakes, they do this, they do that, whatever. Right? But having said that, I am not God. I don't know a lot of things. I don't know a lot of things. So when I'm giving you feedback, I'm giving you feedback and I'm talking to you based on the things that I know. Okay? However, as with anything that you come across, you should not believe and you should not go with everything that I say or anybody says 100%. Because then what you're doing is you're doing nothing more than what somebody does with WhatsApp forwarders. Somebody says in WhatsApp, so and so is doing something, and you share it irrespective of what that means, with no reasoning for it. I mean, zero knowledge and reasoning about how can this even be true? How is this even useful to us? Is this really true? Yes or no? Right? There's been a WhatsApp forward nowadays saying that, WhatsApp, you better in the groups that you're there, you better turn privacy on. If you don't turn privacy on, they can read all the things and your group and this and that and all of that. And people started forwarding. And it became a big thing and some people started doing group privacy and all of that. There are two things that I want to mention. One, Mark Zuckerberg reads the messages anyway. Facebook is not a company that you should trust it. Any of us should trust it. Because anytime I go and type something in WhatsApp, I see an advertisement for that in Facebook. And they say it's end-to-end encryption. Yes, end-to-end encryption from the time that you are sending the message to somebody receiving it. But at either end it looks like the guys are actually reading it before it gets encrypted. How else does he know that I am looking for something? I see advertisements for travel insurance. I wonder where I saw, I don't even remember when I talked about travel or travel insurance is what I thought, but somewhere in some conversation that was it. For a long time I was seeing things about hearing aids. And I was like, I didn't see anything about hearing aids, but then I realized I forwarded an article to a friend who I thought he would need it for his family. So, when somebody is telling you something, anything that we are telling you, right? There's information that we are sharing with you. Here we are not telling you this is accurate information. But when we are telling you your idea needs to improve, you need to do this, you need to do that, right? Or when I'm saying something about making a statement about something, please verify before you, drop the idea or you change your mind. Because I hope I'm doing everything to make sure that it's useful to you. But I may have my own selfish reason for telling you something. And you don't know me well enough to be able to trust me 100%. So in your case, I told you something. I'm glad you pointed it out. You could have pointed it out a long time ago instead of waiting until now. But understand that I'm just telling you, hey, this is something that you need to consider. And if you've already considered it and said, not a problem, this is not a issue that needs to be, I need to be worried about, fantastic. So don't worry about the transportation. Okay? But I needed to cover a bigger area because otherwise you're not going to understand. You might think that everything that we are telling you has to be that way only. None of us will tell you that you have to do this way only. The only thing I can tell you which you have to do this way only are, be honest, be as truthful as you can, work hard, don't cheat or don't take shortcuts to make money. You can make a lot of money by taking shortcuts, but if you lose your soul, if you're not a good person, how does it matter if you have a lot of money? Everybody around you will say lots of nice things to you only because you have money, not because they actually like you. Behind your back, they're going to say a lot of things. We had an opportunity to get business by going and paying a lot of bribes, including interview work. We could have made a lot of money by paying bribes to certain people in certain places to get business. But we chose not to take that path because we said, yes, honest path is going to take longer, but we would prefer the longer path than go and do something unethical. And everything that we make, all the money that, whether it's interview buddy, whether it's alcohol partners, whether it's indigenous, all that money comes to us into the bank account. There is no cash. For me to try and cheat somewhere, there is no cash that comes into our company or that we are siphoning away. Because I want to go to sleep comfortably every night, not worrying about, am I a nice person? Will income tax people come? Will this happen, that happen? Why go through all this? By the way, this is not about me. I'm just telling you that, it's very easy for all of you to get tempted because there are lots of shortcuts that are available. But it takes you a little longer, but it's going to be, a foundation is going to be stronger if you take the more ethical and hard-working route. Okay. This is what is next. In the next session, we're going to talk about the value proposition and business thinking, very simple stuff. And we'll start building from how do you think about revenue, one page about your idea, all of that. Okay? And that will be on Tuesday. What is Tuesday? 30th. Okay? Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Any concerns? Okay, thank you. Bye. We'll shut down the